This is the start of the Inform Prize. We've got a number of judges that have joined us here. We're all super nervous. We were nervous that we might see some technical difficulties and did so in the first 3 seconds. But luckily we've now got everyone here and we should be able to start with the prize. So with that, I will go quiet and you can move on.
Yes, welcome to all of you who are watching here now and who are watching also on the YouTube stream. This is a new thing. Last year we had this in person where we showcased some of the level 3 group projects from our academic year-long software engineering course. Today you'll see a number of those. Each of the team came up with their own idea, and these are a selection of those. So over to them.
Yeah, so thanks. I give an overview of the prize. So the Inform Prize is 7 years old. The first 5 years were done in private. No one really saw this other than people from Intelligent Plant. We kind of were shocked when we did this. So we started off doing it just to let the students know we existed because they didn't know there were companies in Aberdeen that employed software students. And we did that and saw some of these presentations. I knew they existed because I did the course. It's a really hard course. And so it was 21 years ago. And when I did that course, I remember starting this year. The third year is a really hard year. They said half of you will disappear in this year because half of you will quit. And that's what happened in the year I was in. But it's a good course because you actually do a real project. You have to build something real and you come out at the end and you have to present it. And that presentation is really good preparation for the real world because I do an awful lot of presenting nowadays. In fact, when I did that presentation, though, it wasn't marked. And so I told my team that we should just go and concentrate on everything except that. And then I did the worst presentation that had ever been done. And the lecturer confirmed that on that day. That left me in such a great place that I could never have anything go any worse, even today. So that's okay. So on with that, we will go to the teams and we'll get to see their videos. Now these are of the projects. We've got a number of judges here who are going to be taking notes and we'll get questions at the end of each video. We have members of each team in that will be able to answer the questions.
Hey, Niven.
Whoa! Who's there?
It's me, Steban. I'm talking to you telepathically instead of filming in person because of the coronavirus lockdown.
Dude, you scared me. But that is a pretty cool ability.
Yeah, it is. I've heard you've got problems with your code.
You got that right. Keeps failing to compile.
And let me guess, popular feedback services are too public for you, scared of judgment and plagiarism?
Yup.
And you don't use private feedback services because their quality is inadequate?
Spot on.
I got a solution for you. Heard of Ask Anything?
No. Is it any good?
Is it good? It's fantastic. With Ask Anything's feedback marketplace service, no feedbacker too good and no topic too obscure is out of your reach. And with its revolutionary approach to connecting you to the right feedbackers, you can trust that your feedback request will reach a wide variety of people while still protecting your privacy and security.
Dude, that's amazing. Where can I go use it?
Just go to their website. As you can see, their main page has loads of information about their service. After you have finished reading, just click on the sign up button at the bottom of their page. By the way, you'll first have to verify your email address using a link sent to it before you can access your account. After that, just log in and...
Montage!
Wait, what? What was that?
That's my montage ability. Since this is a video, I can practically skip time in just a second. Pretty neat, huh? Okay, done. So now what?
Weird, but alright. Anyway, as I was saying, just go to the dashboard. Click on the Ask for Feedback button. Here, you can upload the content you want feedback on. Since people cannot directly see your content, but instead have to apply to see and give feedback on it, you can be confident that none of the various feedbackers can steal your work.
Montage!
That really gives me a headache. Oh, look, 3 people have already responded to your feedback request.
Wow, that was really fast.
So you can skip through time, but it's people replying fast that impress you? Anyway, you see the Python help box. Click it, then look through the candidates and choose the one you like best.
Robert looks interesting. Says to check out his profile. I think I'd do that. Oh, his bio doesn't have any credentials. He's not what I'm looking for. Never mind. Hey, Stepan, is that feedback or you?
No, that isn't me, but I actually have worked with the other Stepan before. He's pretty good. I suggest you choose him. You can either use PayPal or a credit card to hire him. The money will be put on hold until he returns your feedback.
What is the bell icon up top for?
That is the notification bell. It alerts you if anything new pops up. Speaking of which, I think there is something for you. Oh, it's the guy who you accepted as your feedbacker. He messaged you. Click the notification box and it'll bring you to the feedback page. That was really quick. He already gave you feedback. Scroll down to read his message and then respond to him.
Lovely. Just give me 1 second to check it out.
Sure.
Okay, I checked it out. Thanks for waiting. So what's the next step?
You can now release the reward. You can donate a portion to a charity of your choice if you feel that they didn't do an adequate job. You can also rate your feedbacker. The rating system is based on 4 different components.
So can I just ask feedback for anything?
Yep, you can literally ask anything. All feedbackers are users just like you, so there are no restrictions on what can be asked.
Man, I would really like to give feedback too. I bet you can make a living off this.
Well, let's do that then. Before giving feedback though, you should edit your profile so that people can see your capabilities, and also so that Ask Anything's Smart Recommendations AI can recommend relevant requests to you.
Montage!
Okay, fine. I give up.
So then how do I apply?
Well, the feedback requests are divided into various categories at the top, so just choose whatever you like.
Alright, just gonna filter this. Give me a second.
You could also use Ask Anything search bar at the top to filter through requests. It's powered by Elasticsearch.
Alright, I think I got the hang of this now. I'm gonna go apply to this person.
Great, just make sure you submit your feedback in the specified deadline. And if you're not satisfied with the feedback you have submitted, you can always resubmit an updated one.
Cool. I for sure am going to apply to more feedback requests.
Then you should definitely read up on the benefits of premium accounts, since they are very useful for frequent users. You'll even get a free trial, although you'll have to enter your credit card details to get it through.
How do I become premium?
Just click on the Get Premium button at the top and follow the steps.
Montage! Done. You're really huge help, man. Thanks.
No problem. Glad I could help. And speaking of help, to show how a professional can vastly improve the quality of a project, we have hired a narrator to demonstrate this in the next part. Enjoy.
Thanks, Stefan. As you know, making something great is not easy. Without guidance, we often get lost and fail to reach our full potential. But what if there was another way? Introducing Ask Anything. Ask Anything is a universal feedback website. Whether you're the next big writer, composer, or software engineer, on Ask Anything you can get comprehensive feedback from the best professionals on anything you do. So, how does it work? Simply create an account and post a new feedback request, specifying what kind of feedback you're looking for and attaching all the relevant files. Once it is time to choose your feedbacker, just check out all candidates' profiles and choose the best one. And how do you know you can trust the information you find on their profiles? Our safeguarding quality algorithm is great at catching feedbackers who are trying to cheat the system by writing fraudulent reviews, ensuring every single review is from a genuine feedbackee, just like you. And if you aren't completely happy with the quality of the feedback you receive, you can donate up to 50% of the rewards to charity, so your money will go a long way towards helping those in need. And what if you want to become a feedbacker yourself? It couldn't be any easier. Just look at Niven. Niven is a professional software engineer who wanted to provide guidance to beginners. So he polished his profile page, applied to feedback requests, and started editing code. Within days he completed his first job, and not long after received his first reward. And due to our smart recommendation system, which utilizes complex natural language processing algorithms, he now regularly receives tailored recommendations straight into his email inbox, making it even easier to apply to the right feedback requests. And for frequent users, we are offering premium accounts, which come with countless benefits for both feedbackers and feedbackees, such as unlimited file size for all feedback requests, early access to new feedback requests, or a premium badge on your profile page. So, what are you waiting for? Join Ask Anything today. Ask Anything. Literally, ask anything.
Brilliant. So if there's any questions from YouTube, put them in the comments section, and we'll wait to see if we've got any questions from the judges.
I'd just like to say I thought that was brilliant. Really great video, really great presentation, and what a fab idea for a product. I love it. So I've got a couple of brief questions. I wondered who sets the reward. Is it the person who's got the problem or the person who's responding? Because I wonder if there's a danger that you'd always go for the highest expert if the reward level's the same. Perhaps the newbie could charge a little bit less for their feedback, and that would give them an opportunity to be boosted up the ranks, because otherwise the ones who've answered most questions will always have a higher response rate.
For the question that you just asked, the person who sets it isn't actually determined just by one person. So the person who sets it is initially the person who puts up the bounty. For example, if you ask, well, I want to have a review on my code, or I want to have a review on my resume or my music article, you put up a bounty that gives up like maybe what you think $35 for a review. Then there will be applicants who apply to your bounty, and they can then negotiate the terms. So it's not like a set, it's like a negotiation where you say, well, I think this much is, suitable for my service. So obviously the higher quality servicers would probably ask for more, because we're planning to have this as a huge domain where there's a lot of bounties, meaning that the high quality people can't tackle every single bounty. So either you purchase somebody who has a high quality for a high, or you purchase somebody who is low quality for, a cheap price. It's really dependent on what you want. And that's what we're really shooting for, is that sort of flexibility, not only flexibility in the terms of stuff that we can give feedback, like Amazon, which can tackle so many different aspects, or Fiverr, which can tackle so many different, people and services, such as music, such as coding, but also give that flexibility to determine your price and determine who you want to give as a feedback, while also giving this sort of flexibility to the feedbacker to choose who he wants to give feedback to, so he doesn't feel pressured to respond to everything. You understand?
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much.
Can I ask a question on maybe the more practical side of escalation or moderation of any feedback? If there's any conflict or difference of opinions, have you had thoughts on how that would be moderated and managed, either from non-disclosure, confidentiality type challenges, or again, maybe feedback not being to the quality standards that some people are expecting?
Absolutely. That was actually one of our main points of contention, not only when developing this product, but also in our group deciding what and how we should tackle these. And first, we have to look at both the legal aspect and also the sort of moral aspect, the quality aspect of our service. From the legal aspect of it, we basically declare that we aren't sort of liable for anything that is being used. That can be determined in the user agreement, and that also is determined based on sort of fact that most of our stuff is automated, meaning we, the programmers, don't deal with it. It's mainly interaction between the client and the client. However, we do provide a lot of services to sort of mitigate sort of negative quality of sort of feedbackers, or reverse bias if there's not, you know, a good agreement. So first of all, we try to ensure the quality so it doesn't even get to that stage where there's this sort of disagreement, right? We give the sort of ratings, we give the sort of charity, and we give this sort of feedbackers and the premium users, because there's verified users, premium users, and their ratings are high. So you can pretty much guarantee that they're good if you choose them. But if you do somehow get into the stage where there's this sort of issue, right? First of all, we know that the person who's paying, the feedbackee, he's not getting any of the money that he agreed to pay for back. We have a set amount of charity services that you can apply, charities that we believe in, not some fake charities that you randomly choose. So they can't just transfer money to those charities and get some of their money back. Second is that they can give it a percentage, not all of it, only a percentage, I believe up to 30% to a charity, if they really don't believe that the feedback is good. And so it's this sort of thing where you have to say, well, where's the quality? What is the quality? The quality is is a subjective thing. Some people think quality is really good and they'll give them a lower rating. Some people think the quality is really good and they'll give them a higher rating and give them more money to charity. But we try to sort of not let it get to that place where there is a conflict by not only ensuring quality, but also ensuring that nobody tries to become fraudulent and scam the system. And with those, we have put those tools in place. In terms of legal aspect, there's a lot to do with the legal agreement and the fact that we wipe our hands away from it.
That's brilliant. So just so you know, that was Jen Scott from Opportunity Northeast. She's responsible for the sort of Northeast part of development. And it was Bex from the OGTC's Asset Integrity Solution Center that asked those questions. I've got a question, and that is, during your project, did you try using the thing you were building to help you build the thing? In other words, asking for advice from each other in order to use the tool to build the tool?
Absolutely, of course. We based it off Agile instead of a flow sort of paradigm. So we always sort of went back to different aspects when we learned something new. Remember, this is our first time doing a massive group project. So when we did this, there was a lot of things at the very beginning we didn't know that we now know, and we went back and changed some of the things. For example, our very beginning, we went around to a bunch of different students, a bunch of different teachers, and not even just teachers, but people in the industry. And we asked, like, for example, the IT, we went to the IT department also and basically checked with them sort of what do they think of our project? How can we make our project better? What do you think is going to incentivize them to use this over our other competitors? And so getting the feedback from them, we sort of changed our idea. Then we moved forward. We looked at what is feasible, what's not feasible, and then we started developing it. And then we would run into obstacles. And obviously we'd have to go back and change the sort of structure and the layout of our sort of programs. We'd have to look at, you know, the intuitiveness and the usability. Like, is it sort of usable for like if you did black box testing, if you went through, was it really feasible? Did people get confused in which area? And we looked at all of that. On top of that, we did a lot of research. So for example, we based our sort of development of our platform on the basis of gamification, which not only shows that it promotes sort of competitions and recognizes the top performers, but while doing that, it also creates a collaborative environment, hugely important. And all of this is inducive to maintaining a quality service, which also causes a high retention of customers. And I believe a study at the top of my head that we did before completely integrating gamification into our system was that it said increasing customer retention by, I think, roughly 5% causes a huge increase in profit, about 95% or so. So a huge point of sort of what we did, as you just said, with going back and using our service to develop our service, we used that sort of idea of building on each other. We initially didn't have gamification, but now we incorporated, ratings, premium accounts, verified users, premium badges, quality of life, charities, all of that to induce that gamification. On top of that, not only but we use that to look to the future. Right now, we just realized sort of just a little bit while we're developing the product, we realized, well, even though we don't have time to implement it, we're actually looking into sort of creating a platform where multiple groups of clients or multiple groups of people like feedbackers or feedbackees can sort of come together. So for example, if a company is a feedbackee and they say, hey, we would like to have a project for this type of code, a bunch of people could then go and apply, and they could choose a bunch of these sort of feedbackers, take them and put them into a group. So we've looked into the scalability of our project too into the future and how we can develop it. And none of this would have been possible if we didn't sort of look at our platform and see how can we improve our platform. Our platform is to always improve, to make it better, to have the highest quality of service, and to always give the best we can.
Cool. Right, well, thank you very much, Team Alpha, and thanks very much, Niven, for your answers to the questions. That was absolutely brilliant.
Hi, Steve. It's Kevin Call here. I've got a couple of questions.
Oh, sorry, on you go.
Okay. It was a good presentation. Personally, I think you should have done the video first so that you framed out exactly what it was, because you didn't really explain that.
We're going to do feedback.
We'll do that afterwards, yeah.
Capture that. Yeah, so on you go. Sorry, on you go.
So it looks like a type of Stack Overflow type environment, but for general feedback. So who are your competitors in the marketplace was my first question. How do you compare against them, and what are your USPs? And what's the difference between applying like this application or versus putting a bounty on Stack Overflow, for example?
Yeah. So we did look into that. We did actually, when we created this idea, we based it off Fiverr. And then we realized, well, yes, it's kind of like Quora. It's kind of like Stack Overflow. And knowing that, you ask, well, then how can we compete with a service that's free? Well, we can compete with it by guaranteeing stuff on a monetary basis. So what we looked at was what were the holes in the market of our competitors, right? And there are two competitor markets that we are both integrating and tackling, and we have a one-up on them. One is the free feedback services, as you said, Stack Overflow, and the other is the sort of monetary feedback services. However, these monetary feedback services only target one specific subject, and normally they hire their people. In fact, I have not found a single sort of service that gives feedback that does not hire their own people. And that limits the scalability of their product. And that limits the sort of aspects that they can tackle, the subjects that they can tackle, because then they have to go out into the real world and find people to hire that can tackle that. So on that end of the market, it limits their scalability. It limits how many people they can tackle. And when you're going for feedback service, right, a lot of people use Amazon. If you look at Amazon, the reason why Amazon's so big is not because it provides sort of, it doesn't sell stuff. It sells all types of things. It's a single platform that provides a bunch of subjects. Anything and everything you want to buy, you can buy it on Amazon. You want to buy this, go to Amazon. You want to go there, buy to Amazon. It gives that ease of use. Also, because Amazon's a well-known sort of seller and a platform, people trust it. Whereas if you go to just random different feedback services, you don't even have trust with them. We try to develop trust. Now, as for the other aspect, which is the code services, you ask, well, it's a free service. Yes, but unfortunately with code review, Stack Overflow, Quora, most of the questions are posted on a forum, which anybody and everybody can see. So meaning if you can't post your code, you can't post your essays, you can't post music because you're scared of, plagiarism, stealing, or just public humiliation. Let's say you writing a kid's storybook, right? And you don't know if people are going to humiliate you for writing a kid's storybook. So you're just nervous, so you don't. And one huge aspect of our sort of service is that everything's anonymous, meaning all of the feedbackees are anonymous. And all the feedbackers, you can look at them, even though you know who they are, and they're guaranteed and verified with us if they have a premium service. Even though you know who they are, you can't just directly search for them. So that also maintains their privacy. On top of that, the monetary aspect of it sort of increases a higher quality, right? You not only can choose your feedbackees, but it's sort of guaranteed because people who are working for money are more likely to give a sort of better, more amount of time, more amount of effort into something rather than if it's free. Right there, they're doing somebody else's service for free. Here, it's a transaction. And so the quality is not only going to be increased. So to sort of summarize and reiterate, with the code, with the sort of Stack Overflow, it's all open. It's open to plagiarism for the feedbackees. And for the feedbackers, there's not an insurance of quality and there's not an insurance of sort of privacy. And for the people on the other side of the market, they have a sort of very limited platform where they can only grow to so much based on human resources. Like they could get the best service, the servers, they could best the reverse servers, proxies, anything you want, but they are still limited to the human resource. And the more people they have, the lower the quality overall in terms of hiring when they have to select their own people. And so we give that sort of openness to whoever wants to join can do it. And remember when I said back to the sort of insurance of quality, the people, the creme de la creme, will rise to the top using the tools that we've given. So we ensure quality, we ensure security, we ensure privacy, and we ensure autonomy, meaning anything and everything you want, come to us. And we guarantee you there will be something for anyone there. And we provide the ease of use, just like Amazon.
Are you good, Kevin?
Yep, that's fine.
Sorted. Thank you very much. I think that was really good. So that was Team Alpha. It was Ask Anything, and that was a really good answer. So well
Thank
done.
you very much for giving me the time of day to explain our project.
No worries.
I hope you enjoyed.
Great, and we'll probably have some more stuff in the end. So if we can move on to the next video, we'll be moving on to Team Charlie, which is Thalia, a portfolio backcasting tool.
Backtesting.
Before we jump into a demonstration of Thalia, we need to define some common vocabulary and show a scenario where backtesting could provide value to an investor. Let's quickly go over a couple of definitions. An asset is an item or property owned by a person or company. Gold, real estate, stock in a company, or the money in your wallet are all examples of assets. The trade of some asset for another asset between different people or companies constitutes a market. For example, people trade Microsoft stock for US dollars on the corresponding market of the New York Stock Exchange. A portfolio is a collection of assets that are owned at the same time. For example, an investor creates a portfolio to meet some investing objective, such as saving to buy a house or to fund college education. An example portfolio may contain 25% gold, 43% AAPL, 2% Bitcoin, and 30% US Treasuries. Typically, individual investors favor certain assets over others due to their characteristic risks and return, depending on their investing objective. A young person may craft a portfolio that is more risky but offers greater returns, while a person nearing retirement may mix risky assets such as stocks with more conservative assets such as government bonds. The process of constructing a portfolio brings us to backtesting. Backtesting is exploring the historical performance of a given portfolio and investment strategy. While past performance is never an indicator of future results, backtesting can help reveal the risk-return nature of a portfolio by showing its performance over the last 2, 10 or even 100 years. The longer the time frame, the less prone your findings are to overfitting, which is simply biased due to certain market conditions. Consider the case of Alison, a young finance student who wants to create a portfolio to start investing. She's eager to try her hand at picking stocks, so she chooses 10 companies that she thinks will perform well and runs a backtest for this portfolio over the last 30 years. She discovers that during the Great Recession, she would have to suffer temporary losses of 70%. Skeptical of her abilities to patiently sit through a crisis of that magnitude, she decides to shoot for lower returns with less risk. Applying her finance knowledge, she adds a government bond fund to her portfolio and runs another backtest. Happy with the results, she calls her broker and makes some orders. To summarise, you now know what an asset and portfolio is and how backtesting can help you gain insight on the risk-return characteristics of an investing strategy. When we first go to the website, we're presented with this description page of Thalia. Now, if you're not familiar with backtesting or Thalia, there's a small section on the subject with the Learn More button taking you to the About page. In order to use Thalia, you need an account. It's very simple to create one. You just need a username and password. So let's go ahead and create one real quick. There are a few limitations on passwords. That is, they need to contain at least one letter, number, and special character. Having created an account, we can now go ahead and log in. Now that we're logged in, we can go to the My Portfolios tab. You can see the link in the nav bar right here. This is where you can view and manage all your portfolios. This is a new account, so we don't have any just yet. Let's remedy that by making our first portfolio. To do this, we need to go to the dashboard. The first thing we have to do is decide what time period we're interested in. Here you can see that the default is from 5 years ago to today. The next thing is our initial investment. The default here is $1,000. I'm happy with that, so let's go down a bit. You can see that the thing below is contribution and rebalancing. We're going to ignore that for a moment and focus on the more essential part, selecting assets and allocating funds to them. Let's just pick 2 assets here and give 50% to each of them. If Thalia doesn't have the data for the asset you want, you can upload the data yourself. It'll be analysed just the same. Now these numbers don't need to add up to 100 like percentages. So if I change this 50 to a 30, nothing bad will happen, I'll just have a different allocation. But personally I like percentages, so let's change it back. Coming back up for a moment, if I have an income and I want to use it to invest more into my portfolio as time goes on, we can model that here with contribution. So let's say I want to put an extra $100 worth into my portfolio every month. I just type 100 here and select monthly here. Over time, it's possible that these assets will go up and down in value differently, so this nice 50-50 split might not stay 50-50 for long. Now, if you've decided that you don't want that, and you'll buy and sell regularly to keep the portfolio at its initial balance, you can model that by selecting a rebalancing frequency. That's all that goes into creating a portfolio, but we also have a collection of lazy portfolios for you. You can name your portfolios if you want. Let's call this one My First Portfolio. Quite often we want to compare portfolios against each other. To do this, all we have to do is click the button to add a portfolio and fill in the details. You can fiddle about with the options here as much as you want, but for now let's actually look at the results of what we've done. Here we can see a plot of our returns over time. And there's some other key information here, but if you want more detail on any of this, you can go to the corresponding tab. We'll be taking a look at each of these. The key metrics are presented as a table. Here you can compare the most important metrics of each portfolio, such as the Sortino ratio or Sharpie ratio. We can look at the annual returns in a graph or table. And the same for drawdowns. Finally, we have a breakdown of the assets that make up the portfolios. After seeing the backtest results, we're free to go back to the allocation tab and tweak the settings to try and improve our portfolio's performance. But if we do this repeatedly, we run the risk of overfitting, where you optimize for specific market conditions that might not be applicable in general. If you're concerned about this, go to the Overfitting tab and click on Check Overfitting. If you'd like to request a feature, or if you have another reason for wanting to get in contact with the developer team, you can leave feedback for us on the Contact Us page. If you want to learn about the developer team, go to the About Us page, where you can read a bit about the proud creators of Thalia. The main programming language of a project is Python. We use the Flask framework to make the website itself and Bulma for styling. We use Dash to make the main backtesting functionality available as a single-page application. We developed an in-house library based around pandas for analyzing financial data, which covers the major metrics you would care about when backtesting. You can expect to see this extended further to support more advanced metrics for power users. Our financial database is kept up to date with a module known as the Data Harvester. It regularly collects stock prices from a wide range of sources, normalizes them, formats them, and then sends them to our system methodology. Our team worked in weekly sprints, starting with a team meeting in which we reviewed the previous week's work and allocated new work to members. Our aim was to keep units of work small, easy to review, and well tested. To implement an egalitarian team structure, most decisions were made on the basis of group consensus. Additionally, our members were encouraged not to specialise, but rather to familiarise themselves with all areas of Thalia's development. This offered us great flexibility and resilience when allocating work, as team members were essentially interchangeable. Additionally, members were encouraged to assess the difficulty of tasks themselves before picking their own work. When developing a new module, the team member was responsible for both the implementation and design of its API. We ended each meeting with a retrospective where we aimed to reflect and try to fix faults in our process. Relatively short sprints of 1 week meant that we were flexible, being able to identify unexpected obstacles before they had any long-term impact. Each member aimed to have a 10-hour work week on average, to strike a balance between stagnation and burnout. This didn't just include time spent programming, but also writing documentation, attending meetings, reviewing others' code, and self-learning. Our code is hosted on a private GitHub repository, with the exception of security-sensitive information. We avoided regression by adopting a continuous integration process, fully testing every iteration of our code. We maintained a high standard of code quality with strict reviews. Thalia's mission is to give you the tools you need to take control of your own financial future. With an ever-expanding range of assets from across the globe, you can keep your trading close to home, no matter where you're from. Professional backtesting software at an affordable price. We'll give you the facts. What to do with that knowledge is up to you.
Thank Thank you, Team Charlie. We've got time for 3 or 4 questions now. So if you're watching live on YouTube, if you can pop your question in the comments box underneath the video. And for the time being, we'll start with judges' questions. And judges, feel free to introduce yourself before you ask a question to Team Charlie. Over to you.
Well done, team. Thalia, this is Julie Roberts from Scottish Enterprise. We're Scotland's main economic development agency. I'm really impressed with what I've already seen today. I just had a question, and I think that you did touch upon this in the presentation, but when people are building their portfolios, what reassurance is there that the data that you're providing with them, that it's the most accurate and up-to-date data? What's the data source?
Hi, Julie. I'm Albert. I worked on the Thalia team. To answer your question, what we did is we integrated data from multiple vendors that was then integrated into a single data, aggregated into a single data point for any specific point in time. So we didn't rely on any single third-party service, but aggregated them from multiple platforms. And under UK law, there is an obligation for services like ours to provide accurate data. Otherwise, there is a possibility that we may be sued. So if this were an actual product, customers would have an assurance that the data was correct.
Great, thank you, Albert.
Hi, it's Judith Thorpe from Thorpe Roy McCulloch Recruitment. I'm just interested in the name, Thalia. How did you come up with that?
I think Thalia is the name for the Greek goddess of abundance, and we thought it was kind of a funny name to pick for this project.
Okay, I Googled it. I think it's comedy. She's the goddess of comedy.
In that case, it would be a less fitting name, but maybe there is different interpretations for what she did for the people of Greece.
Or it's a second order joke.
Hi, this is Jen from Opportunity Northeast. I just wondered what the competition was like for this. And, you know, are there other apps and websites that offer the same thing?
There are quite a lot of backtesting tools that exist, both for professional investors as well as retail investors. We targeted a specific niche in this realm where we wanted to provide data for retail investors specifically who couldn't afford a professional solution. And among the competitors for retail investors, there were specific arguments speaking against every single solution. Most of them had a horrible user interface, and we aimed to remedy that. And others provided a small selection of assets, so we tried to integrate them for European assets as well, for example. A lot of them seem to focus on the US market specifically. So we kind of picked the downsides of every service and aim to remedy them in ours.
Great, thanks. And thank you. I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you. I'm glad you did.
There are no questions coming through on YouTube. If there are any more questions from the judges, we have a little bit more time.
I just had one other sort of point on the data. You're basing it on historic data for people to create a portfolio of future investment. What sort of consideration did the team give to what's sort of known as fat data in terms of the sort of socio-economic impacts that influence markets that are very difficult to predict? So you will have been identifying that in the historic data, but what sort of factoring, if any, was given to that in terms of future prospects within the marketplace?
I'm not quite sure I understand your question. Is this about how past performance does not necessarily indicate future results?
It does, but also how socioeconomic changes can really influence marketplaces as well.
So
Can I just jump in quickly? Kenny Steele here. I think basically what we're living through right now, how does that affect your predictions?
All right, okay. So essentially what's really important to understand is our service does not predict anything. We have a very big disclaimer on our website that past performance is in fact not a guarantee of future results. And this current pandemic is something that could not have been predicted by the financial data itself, right? So this is really important for our customers to understand. And all we try to offer is some guidelines for their financial thinking, as in this is how things have performed over, say, the last 100 years. And it's important to realize that in the last 100 years, we've had a world war and we've had the Cold War and we've had a lot of things that were not great for financial markets in general. So if you include all these things in your analysis, then you are very prone to getting a somewhat accurate picture of the future, but it still, of course, cannot predict it in any sort of way one-to-one. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you, Albert.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we can move on to Team Delta's presentation.
£133 billion of food are thrown out each year in the US. When we talk about climate pollution, we tend to focus on power plants, transportation and industry, while in reality wasted food often gets overlooked. 1.3 metric gigatons of edible food goes to waste every year, and almost 800 million people are undernourished worldwide. This issue goes beyond hunger. Producing the food we waste takes land, water, labor and other valuable resources. To add to this, food waste is also a major source of greenhouse gases. If food waste was a country in terms of impact on global warming, it would be the third emitter of greenhouse gases, just behind China and the United States. Climate change is being talked about more than ever as a global emergency. 8.3 million tons of food waste are produced per year in the UK, and this is costing consumers 12 billion as well as any environmental damage. Not only should consumers be concerned about their food waste for the planet, but they should also be worried about their wallets. A family of 4 in the US spends $1,500 per year on food they would never eat. It's not all bad news when it comes to food waste. Among the causes of climate change, food waste is perhaps the easiest to deal with and the one where everyone can make an impact in their daily lives. We can save money and reduce our climate impact by planning meals and only buying food we know we're going to eat. Have you ever opened your fridge only to pull out from the back the remainings of a spoiled dinner, or to realize you have forgotten to buy something? This is where our app, Fridge Plan, comes in to combat these issues. The application allows users to track groceries in their fridge, which will make the user's everyday life much easier. We have based our app on the thorough feedback from customer research, as well as researching competitive apps and evaluating their features. The aim of Fridge app is to provide an overall smooth and seamless user experience with all the needed features. Our app will help users calm their guilty conscience and save them money while they do it. The features we implement will not only help consumers keep track of the use-by dates, but also give them ideas on how to use the food they have before it goes to waste. It will give them a convenient way to plan and eat these meals, with the ability to create shopping lists with advice based on what they previously did and did not use. This will ensure that even the busiest of people can reduce their waste and save money easily.
When the app is first launched, you will see the following page. The user can either use the app as a guest or make an account. To use it as a guest, tap the Personal Organizer button and you will see the fridge page. Here you can see all the items currently in your fridge. To add a new one, simply tap the plus icon on the bottom. This will bring up a screen which allows you to enter all product details, such as the name, the quantity and the category, as well as the expiration date for this item. Once you hit Add Item, you will see this item appear in your fridge. To see more details about this new item, tap on it and you will see the quantity, the category, as well as a bar indicating how long it is until the item expires. To make use of the shopping list feature, tap the shop list icon. This is where you can add items you are planning to buy. To add a new one, tap the plus icon again and enter the product details such as the name, the quantity, and the category. Once an item in your shopping list has been purchased, simply tap on it and you'll be able to enter the expiration date for it. This item will disappear from your shopping list and now appear in your fridge. Once an item in your fridge has been eaten, simply tap on it and hit remove. This will remove the item from your fridge. To use the app with an account, you must first register. To do this, tap the registration button and fill in all necessary details. You can now hit register. You will then be prompted with a message saying you've successfully registered and automatically be logged in. I will now show you how to use these features with an existing account. First, we must log in. The personal organizer works similarly as with a guest account, except when adding an item you're given the opportunity to scan a barcode. This automatically fills in the details of it, such as the name, quantity, and the category. All that's left for you to do is fill in the expiration date. There's also the statistics feature as part of the personal organizer. This shows you a pie chart of eaten versus discarded food over the past month to give users an idea of how much they really are throwing away. We also give a top 3 list of eaten food and discarded food, so users can make best decisions in terms of what to add to their shopping list. Another difference between an account and a guest account is the way you mark items as eaten. You're able to mark an item as eaten, fully or partially eaten by clicking Eaten Some, and you enter how many are left. Discarded and discarded some also work in a similar way. Marking items as eaten and discarded all contribute towards your statistics so that you can get a better experience in terms of what to add to your fridge and shopping list. Another feature for users with an account is recipes. Users can create their own recipe by tapping the plus button and entering the recipe name, difficulty level, duration, any ingredients, and the method. They can also mark a recipe as favourite for easier access. Users can also make a recipe into part of a meal plan by tapping Use for Meal. They can then select the meal type and the scheduled date for this. You can also add a plan via the Meals page. Simply tap the plus icon, select the meal type and the recipe. They can also see which recipe they have most ingredients for, making it easier to schedule meals. Then select the date and tap Add Meal. This will now have been added to your meal plan. The Group Fridge feature is another feature for users with an account. To create a group, go to Group Settings via My Account and tap Create a New Group. Once this is done, the user can tap Get Access Code and send this code to friends or family they share a fridge with. To join an already existing group, go to My Account, Group Settings, tap Join Group and paste in the group access code from one of the other members. You will now have access to the group organizer. This works the same as the personal organizer, except all changes are updated for the whole group. Finally, the app allows a lot of personalization through My Account. Here you can see your account details and also update your preferences. To update your appearance settings, you can change the color scheme, the font type, and the font size. These changes will then be saved. You can also update your notification settings to select what you choose to get notifications about. Finally, you can update any of your account details, such as your payment details, your personal details, and your password.
I believe that small actions can lead to big change. Every one of us can make a difference and contribute to fighting climate change. Fridge Plan can help you and your family lead a healthier life while every single person has enough to eat, without destroying our planet in the process. We can build a more sustainable future where our most precious resources are saved, not thrown away. Make a change today, starting with Fridge Plan.
Thank Thank you very much, Team Delta. Question time now. So if you have questions and you're watching live on YouTube, please type them and we'll pick them up, and over to judges for questions. Thank you.
Hi there, it's Becca from the OGTC. Is this only app-based? Is there any website-based piece for it?
Hi. So yes, this is just an app. We don't have a web-based version.
So that would give me a kind of a challenge on the recipe builder, typing that in or uploading in that in for maybe the older generation out there that are not so familiar with app-based products. And my other question would be your shopping list or your any interaction with say like Alexa or Google, you know, because they're obviously voice activated.
We don't have that, but that would be a pretty cool thing to do. And also I wanted to elaborate on the question you had before. So our idea why we did it on mobile is that, like, when you go to the shop, obviously you have your phone with you, so you have your shopping list and you can update it then on the spot. So that's why we did it on a phone, not a web-based version.
Okay, thank you.
So, hi, John Barrow from the University of Aberdeen. It was a really good talk, I think, or presentation, should I say. I sort of linked to what you were just saying. Is there, or would there be plans, or would there be the ability, do you think, to maybe automate some of the inputting of information? So, whilst it's all housed within an app on your phone, and it is relatively straightforward to, you know, fill in the fields that you were showing in the presentation, do you think there would be the capacity to link it to, for example, you know, barcode scanning of products in the shop, or those kind of things, or even other, you know, integrating with other, you know, information from supermarkets, perhaps?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we actually do have this feature with the barcode scanner. After you buy it, or even when you go in the shop, you can just scan it and it shows up the name and like the quantity and things like that. So I think this is so far what we have. Yeah.
Thanks.
You're very associated with what I was thinking, John, because I was thinking there's a lot of people ordering food from home just now from supermarkets, and when you get that delivered, you get told on that the things that are close to expiring. So they know what the best before dates are on the stuff they're delivering to you, and if you integrated with them, wow, you know, you'd be really singing, because you'd effectively not have to enter all that and be told this is going to expire, you need to make something, here's some recipes. I think that's a brilliant idea.
Thank you.
It's Kevin Call from Solab here. Just expanding on that, maybe the ability to take a photo or scan the receipt of what you've just bought would be really good. I actually thought barcoding included the date of expiry as well. It certainly used to. My parents had a production bakery and it did include it then. So is there a reason, does it not now, or was there a reason you're not extracting that at the same time to save someone typing it?
Yeah, we also thought the same thing. We had the same assumption, but for some reason it didn't show the, I don't think it actually has this data in the barcode. But I was not the one who was actually implementing this feature, so I can't fully answer this question, but yeah.
It certainly used to be, because I used to have to program it. That's a few years ago, right enough.
It's the difference between consumer barcodes and like industrial barcodes. So the consumer ones, I think the number on the product identifies the product only.
It's different. No, there was two. You get the packet of the individual, say, biscuit packet, and then you had a box that it came in. The box didn't have the dates in it, but the packet did.
Right. Okay.
But that, as I say, that might have all changed. So I'm talking old information.
Yeah.
Good to research that if it can, though, because that's the bit that I would not want to be retyping on every single thing that I buy.
That would be a bit annoying. Yeah.
Hi, it's Jen here from Opportunity Northeast. I think your biggest challenge is going to be households where the teenagers eat stuff from the fridge and they don't eat it, because that's what I would be facing. No, I just wanted to say well done, that was great. And I wondered if you'd like to reflect on how you worked as a team and allocated the tasks.
Yeah, so from the beginning, we all had to say what our skills are. So we knew what the other can do, and we kind of like developed groups. For example, I was in charge of like the report, making the video, you know, kind of like the marketing part of like why should people buy this. Also, yeah, researching the market competition, things like that. So we all knew what the other person was good at. So yeah, we didn't actually argue, and no one said, oh, you didn't do that, you didn't do that, because we all, like, we made a plan, everyone knew what the other one was doing, and we were working together.
Great, thanks.
Hi guys, it's Julie from Scottish Enterprise. I think that interesting presentation, but I think for me it's really important that you've identified a really big sort of growth area in terms of tech. Scottish Enterprise and a number of other organisations are looking at the emergence of what we call climate tech, and this fits really well into that space. So I just wonder why this area was of particular interest to you and how you identified that if you had realised that this is quite a big growth area.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, so in the beginning we all started thinking, oh, what's the problem that we all have? And we kind of ended up with this because this is like an issue that everyone has, you know, like tracking your groceries or like not letting it go to waste because you're spending more money and harming the environment. So we kind of wanted to tackle with an issue that would help with all of this. So yeah, and we knew that this was going to be used for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a business professional, if you're a student, if you're a kid, you can all use this app. So we wanted to reach more people and be as helpful as possible for everyone and the environment.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. There are no new questions coming through on YouTube, a little bit of chat happening, which is great. So
I have a question as a student.
Sure.
So a lot of food waste comes not from like individual households throwing out old food, but from shops, fast food restaurants, or high-end restaurants. So does this app do anything to help them keep track of their food and make sure they sell it on time?
Yeah, so on this stage, our app is only for families or like individuals, but we were thinking that maybe in the future we can also expand the app and make it so that restaurants can use it on like a larger scale. Obviously, we have a bit of like different features, but yeah, we were definitely thinking of doing this as at a later stage.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Team Delta. Sorry, and on to Team Echo now, please. Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is the 2020 software project presentation for Team Echo. My name is Konstantinos and I will be your guiding voice for this recording, but before I begin I just want to quickly say a few things about the app and the recording. So first of all, what is our project about? Well, in a nutshell, our project is a navigation style mobile application which focuses on urban tourism and aims to make traveling hassle-free and simple. And that's it, really. Now, regarding the presentation, the footage has been recorded in advance and I'm just voicing over. And the reason for that really is that we had some technical difficulties, or rather incompatibilities, perhaps is the more correct word, between the actual mobile version of our app and the virtual/emulated one. Also, the duration of the recording apparently has to be 10 minutes. So we thought it'd be best to cover the main features of our app and briefly mention any other features that you might want to experiment with on your own. Now, I'll play the footage in double the speed, and that's because I want to minimize dead time, which is loading times, screen transitions, etc. So if you get lost at any point, just pause or rewind the recording and make sure to try and understand or familiarize yourself with the interface first and foremost, because that will make the recording a lot easier to follow. Finally, the footage is being broken down into two videos. The first one uses Aberdeen as its point of reference, whereas the second one uses a faraway city in another country. So without further ado, let me just quickly start the first video. As you can see, we have a sign-in and sign-up screen. All forms contain validators, providing filters and password strength checkers and meters, which feel free to test on your own. In addition, you can also sign in with your Google account. Here we're just creating a custom user. And after we enter the details, we sign up, registration is successful, so we are automatically redirected to the quick walkthrough screen, which is obviously skippable. Search, explore, create, and customize. Now, this is the main menu, and looking from top to bottom, we can see the search bar at the top. In the middle, there are 4 different screens, namely favorites, which contain favorite routes, my routes, which contain the routes that you create, preferences, which contain adjustable filters to help you narrow down your results, and options, which allow you to change your username, reset password, delete, and upgrade your account. And also at the bottom, we have a small space dedicated for the most popular routes, which has not been implemented yet, so it's not working. So don't even try clicking on it; nothing will happen. Here we're just looking for routes in Aberdeen. The generated route is the route generated based on our preferences, which we'll get to in a bit, while the other routes are just routes that other users have created. Yep. This is the route. This is the list of the landmarks that are present in the generated route. This one right here is the Wikipedia description, which of a given landmark, which you might have some questions about, especially after looking at the message at the bottom. Yeah, there's a small difference, but I'm not gonna say what the difference is. Now, if you tap on the cloud-looking icon on the top right of the screen, you can get the weather forecast. Very nice. Okay. Now we're just examining other people's routes, and we decide to leave a review. 2 stars. Harsh review. What we do next is, oh, sorry. Here we have some filters. If you see at the bottom right of each of the routes, there are forms of transit or transit icons, which for now they can either be walking or driving or both. And you can also filter by the duration of the route. Here we do a quick search. We're looking for some words. Now the search applies both for the description of the route and its title. Here we're creating our own route, and which is based on, let's say, there's a pre-configured radius, which is 10 kilometers in length, and we get all the attractions based that are inside of that radius. And after we do that, we can just select which ones we want to visit and construct our own route. Okay. And after we're done selecting our attractions, then we can just save the route. Yep, right here. And after you save the route, then the application prompts you to choose how you'd like to navigate the route. Would you like to drive? Would you like to walk? And then how long would you like to stay, or how much time would you like to spend on each of the landmarks? Then you get to arrange the order in which you want to view the attractions. You can either use your own order, or you can use our order, which is probably more efficient, 99 times out of 100. Adding the final details, title and description. We should have added the smiley face. And now we just look at the routes in Aberdeen, because we published the route we just saved, so we just want to show you that the route that we just published is available for everybody else to see, and you can also leave a review. As you can see, the star icon is activated now, whereas before it wasn't available, and that's because the route hadn't been published. And that's the end of the first video. So in the second video, we're searching for a city that is not supported by the Yelp API, which is used to retrieve all the landmarks. And in that case, we want to show you our alternative, let's say, landmark finder API, which is called here. And after we do that, we play around with the preferences a little bit, and we go to another city to show you how the generated route is changed based on how you change your preferences. After that, we just demonstrate some more features, and that's pretty much the video. So let's start. Bogota, Colombia. Okay. As you can see, there are no user routes for this city, and also the landmarks do not contain let's say the Yelp icon or any reviews. But nonetheless, we do get the landmarks. There are landmarks to be displayed. Wikipedia is working just fine. Very nice. Exact same thing, we're just adding landmarks, we're constructing the route. We also check the temperature of the city, or sorry, the weather forecast, and now these are our preferences. We can actually, it'd be a nice idea to quantify them, because having just sliders is a bit inaccurate or as not informative. Now we go to London. As you can see, so basically earlier we changed the preferences to only display museums and landmarks, and if you look at the route, we only get museums and basically landmarks. Nice. I swear every time I look at the London weather, it's always sunny. Every time. Now we go back to Aberdeen. Again, we change preferences. We want to look for religious buildings. There we go. Only religious buildings. Works as expected. Now this is the settings screen, which again, you can change username, display name, reset password, delete your account, or upgrade to your premium account, which when you click that, then we use another API to collect the payments. We've also added multi-language support. As you can see, we've got English and Spanish, but we can also add other languages as we please, as long as we have capable translators, that is, to translate it. Now everything is in Spanish. Mis frutas, there we go, fritos, favoritos, yep. Everything is in Spanish. Except perhaps for the cloud API. Oh no, okay, yeah, that's in Spanish too. Wikipedia description also in Spanish. So far so good. And here when you have a route, and you choose to navigate it, then you can either you can open it with Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever maps application that you have on your phone. In this video, we chose to open it with Google Maps, which takes a while because the phone was recording as well. And that's it pretty much.
Thank you very much. Team Echo. So over to the judges. We have time for 3 or 4 questions again. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, Kenny Steele from Pinnacle. You said you had problems deploying it onto a phone. Was that because you used Flutter, or was it something else? Hello.
I don't know if there's anyone from Team Echo on, and if you can unmute yourself to answer the question, that would be great.
Right.
Just because I've tried it and had the same problem. So.
Right. Okay, brilliant. So thank you very much to the teams. We, the judges, we need to go on to WebEx and make sure we're muted on here to go and discuss our notes and to go in there. Meanwhile, we'll leave the level 4 things to happen here.
Hi, this is Neven from Team Alpha. Can I just make one little statement that I didn't have the time to make, but I think it's really vital that you guys know?
Okay.
Right. Just wanted to mention back on that question that you had with sort of Stack Overflow and sort of Quora, is that Stack Overflow and Quora will go down in usability because many of the people will sort of who provide feedback during sort of socioeconomic issues or changes or obstacles, like the time we are now, may be out of a job and therefore may not have the time or money to guarantee the free service. So our service is a positive correlation where theirs would be a negative correlation because our service provides people who are out of work, like the skyrocket high rates of unemployed people in America, an alternative of a contactless, safe, and reliable way to make money out of their skills. And best of all, no contract, meaning that they can quit anytime they want, allowing them to be flexible with their time schedules, like stay-at-home mothers who want to have who have to take care of their young ones, but also are able to make money off their skills that they have to support their families. And this is with being able to connect anyone and everyone around the world. And speaking of sort of the website, Ask Anything. It's deployed. Come check us out at djangoanythingherukapp.com. It's going to be in the YouTube chat. Come along. We'll see you there. Just, well, ask anything.
Thanks very much. Right, I'm going to go mute and I'm going to go join the WebEx. So judges, I'll see you there.
Great, thank you. If we can invite Mikko, our level 4 student, to present and discuss your project, please.
So essentially, I was concerned of instant messaging data submitted over the internet. Essentially, there's plenty of platforms that provide instant messaging, including but not limited to, you have the usual Facebook, TikTok, I think, and then LinkedIn, for example. Basically, if you pick any platform, they probably have an instant messaging app built into it. And oftentimes, some of this can be very personal. If you're chatting on Tinder, you probably are talking things that you don't want shared everywhere in the world. But there's problems when you talk with about large-scale systems. For example, how do you make sure data is deleted after a while? You might have replication, you might have backups stored somewhere, you might have disks that kind of just lay somewhere. Deleting your chat logs on all of those platforms is not as simple as you might think. There has been in the past and probably will be in the future data leaks. Sad examples of not securing data properly, and these are by big, large-scale companies. So if large-scale companies can get attacked and leaked, what about all of these other instant messaging platforms that have been popping up? There's also questionable consent on the user side of, you know, how if I consent to use Facebook Messenger, does Facebook have all the rights to all of my messages? You know, if I'm falling out with a friend and I talk, I use harsh words there, can they sort of run analytics on it and then market me some, I don't know, napkins for my sorrow on Amazon? Like, did I consent to that while I read through the license agreement on using Facebook? There's also concerns of surveillance and other adversaries like hackers, etc. There's a lot who want to get access to this data. So next slide, please. The software engineer solution to this is, let's just use this app that does everything, right? Let's use Signal is an example here. It's open source, it's free, and it supports all kinds of amazing things. You can chat text, you can call, you can send images, you can talk in a group chat with your friends. You can even send stickers if you're into that sort of stuff. But obviously, the real world isn't that simple. If you go to the next slide, we see this huge cloud of services that people use and offer instant messaging. And this is not all of them. So I don't think it's reasonable to assume that everyone should use the same app for messaging everyone. So if you go to the next slide, we can go back to the problem. So yeah, essentially probably everyone at this point went back to their original problem and asked what went wrong. You know, why isn't Signal being used? Or any other open source app that sort of fixes these original problems. Maybe people don't care. Maybe it's too much effort to install yet another messaging app. Maybe it's lack of features. Some apps do some, basically if you're using Tinder, you're doing matching with people. So you wouldn't just go and do that yourself if that feature is provided on Tinder. But if you use Signal, you only get the messaging.
You're not going to go out of your way to search for people on Signal. It doesn't work like that. Maybe there aren't any people on there. You know, you install Signal and one of your friends is on the platform, so that's great. Or maybe it's scary, you know, talking about security, surveillance, it's very scary. So maybe you just want to live in blissful ignorance. Okay, these are kind of all problems. I'm not going to offer a silver bullet, but if we go to the next slide, it's basically the approach and sort of the idea that I had for my level 4 project. So essentially, what if we don't care about the platform that we send these messages on? What if we encrypt messages ourselves with trusted encryption before we send them? So we use the messaging platform like Facebook to transmit these encrypted messages to people. And then those people decrypt them after they receive them. What if there's a software solution to sort of overcome any manual labor? And that sounds like, next slide, end-to-end encryption. But the ends are a bit further apart. So instead of the instant messaging app dealing with end-to-end encryption, it's us dealing, sort of acting as a layer. So Morpheus, this app that I created, deals as a sort of middle layer between the instant messaging platform and you sending the messages. So it encrypts them when you send them and decrypts any messages that you get when you receive them. And obviously you don't have to use this tool. It's been designed in a way that everything uses a common encryption protocol, so any other tool that supports that protocol you can use. But this is an example for an app that you might do. There's some things that we need to overcome. So on the next slide, basically we need to tell the computer to look for a couple things. Every instant messaging app has these similar features. So you have a message feed, you have an input box that you type into. Essentially we need to encrypt the input field and we want to decrypt these messages that are coming in. We also need to know, because this is end-to-end encryption, we need to know who we're encrypting for. And that's where we also need to see here someone's talking with John Doe. They would use John Doe's public key. So in this kind of encryption scheme of public-private, you would have to use John Doe's public key to encrypt for John Doe. There's other methods as well, but I chose public-private key for the sake of sort of, this is already being used in emails. If you send an email to someone, you're using their public key. So it's sort of a easy leap to make into instant messaging. So if you go to the next slide, I also restricted the scope a bit more. Sorry, it's browsers.
Yeah, browser issues. Browsers, there we go.
Yeah. So essentially, you can develop this for mobile, for desktop, etc. I decided to go for browsers just to show that this is possible. It makes it easier because every web app, and it turns out a lot of these instant messaging platforms provide a web interface. HTML is a common interface, so everything uses HTML. And I can create a web extension that encrypts and decrypts these messages. Mobile would be possible, but for a dissertation project, it's a bit out of scope, so it would be a whole new project. And yeah, PGP as an algorithm, but you could potentially support any. So you could send messages with a password, you could send pictures that have some secret text embedded. It doesn't really matter. And it currently supports WhatsApp, Messenger, Slack, Telegram, and Discord. as an example. So it's multi-platform, and you can pop in your own kind of snippet of code. I think it's around 20 lines, and integrate it to any other platform because it just needs those elements to encrypt and decrypt. It doesn't really care about anything else. I would show a demo, so the next slide is demo time, but currently I don't have it installed and it's a bit of a hassle. Is there any questions at this point before we go to evaluation?
So if I have Morpheus and I'm like talking with my friend who doesn't have Morpheus,
right,
what happens?
So in that case, you wouldn't probably have their public key. If you do have their public key, you can send them, you're essentially sending them a PGP encrypted message. What they can do, and there's essentially, when you send a message to a new recipient the first time, it comes with a link, and it says, I have sent you an encrypted message using Morpheus. Click this link for instructions to decrypt. So in that link, there are, you can decrypt it without using Morpheus. It involves some copy pasting into GPG, which is PGP encryption for any platform. But you can do that. But obviously, if you want it automated, you can install Morpheus on the browser, which means you don't have to do that extra step. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Any other questions?
If there's anyone watching live on YouTube, again, the same, please type them in the comments bar and I'll pick them up and relay them back to you, Mikko. Nothing in just yet, so I'll let you carry on.
That's fine. So essentially, looking back, evaluating this project, it's important to remember that this encrypting messages this way increases the security not only during transit but afterwards. So if there's any sort of data storage or backup happening, you know, when you open Facebook Messenger, it retrieves your previous messages from somewhere. So they need to be stored in either hot storage or cold storage. All of that is encrypted now. And all of the message backlogs, if you have Morpheus, it decrypts them when you open the page. But nothing is stored decrypted. So regardless of, you know, what the big company is doing, let's have an example as Facebook. Even if Facebook is encrypting them on their disks, that's fine. Double encryption isn't really necessarily bad. But if there's some place where your messages are leaking and are not encrypted, now they are encrypted. So you increase the security for your messages. There's also, from a software side, there's easy module creation. So the software itself is very agnostic of the platform, which means it doesn't deal with Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp Web. It deals with encryption and decryption, regardless of the web platform that it's on. And then only around 15 lines of code, you need to point to the specific web elements that the essentially what is on the website. So on Zoom, you would point onto the group chat live chat feed to say, this is the chat feed. Here you can find messages. If there's any encrypted messages in there, I want them decrypted. And that's the only configuration you really need to do. After that, it works always with whatever platform you're on. It's fast. It doesn't add a considerable increase in page load times or encryption decryption. but obviously there's limitations. There's no ephemeral keys, so if you lose your private key, then yes, everyone else can access your past messages, and it's also slightly difficult to set up for people who aren't technical. Mobile remains a mystery because it's a completely new interface, and apps don't generally mix together. So how this would work in theory in mobile is still a question mark. So for the last slide, technology. Okay.
Yep, there we go.
So obviously making more platforms, if there's a platform that isn't there, it's fairly simple to include in the list of platforms. You just add 15 lines and that's it. I would like to have it on extension stores. It requires a code review process, so I didn't want to do that for the dissertation. It would be a bit pointless. Right now you can load it as a development extension, but in order to get it on an actual store, you would have to go through like a lengthy back and forth. I would also like to develop an eyedropper tool, so you wouldn't have to write any code. You could just click on the page and say, I want this message or messages like these to be decrypted, and I would like my messages to be encrypted on this text box, and that could be done as well. More protocols. There's plenty of good protocols out there that already support the thing I'm doing. PGP was mainly to show that it works, but for example, the signal messaging protocol could be implemented in Morpheus, so it would have end-to-end encryption with ephemeral keys, with all of the goodness of real-time encryption. And maybe we could get ambitious idea, but some instant messaging platforms to agree on a common API, so people could use whatever front end that they want, and they could say, okay, API, send this message to this person, or API, do this. But that's a bit ambition. Maybe, I think, due to data and everything, and not surveillance, but advertising, etc., companies wouldn't want to do that because that's less clicks on their website and etc. It goes to politics, so let's not go there. And I think that's it. Next up is the QR codes and questions. Yay.
Indeed.
Great, thank you so much, Mikko.
worries.
Any more questions for Mikko? If not, I believe we have Konrad, who can talk briefly about his project.
I didn't prepare anything, but as Mikko mentioned, I will try to at least mention what I did about over my thesis last year. And actually, I might need to be brief because I have to run in 10 minutes, but it's fine. So I think I also can pull the presentation, and it should be easier if I do it this way. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So let me start here. What is it? You
Present. There we go.
Okay. So my dissertation was about trying to figure out how to connect IoT with blockchain and enhance the authentication and auditing capabilities, such that it can provide option to profit from the information being captured by IoT, and also enhance the security, since nowadays everybody can just approach the devices or connect to them and get data. So just an outline, what was it for? Again, the presentation is very old, so probably won't be able to talk about everything, but very briefly, for people that don't know what an MQTT is, it's a simple protocol of publisher-subscriber to, pardon me, just a second. There you go. MQTT basically is the publisher-subscriber protocol allowing to IoT devices to publish information to the broker, and consumers to also subscribe to the same information. So you basically skip the direct communication between the devices. Just talk to each other, just talk for intermediate broker, which removes the dependency of a stronger infrastructure or stronger IoT having to be more powerful in order to handle more requests. So of course it operates on the transport layer, so it's the packets are quite transparent. You can see what the data is flowing through. There are different types of connections, so you can either subscribe to information, receive the data from the other sensors, or you can publish information if you are a sensor. And blockchain. So blockchain is a big thing nowadays with the many different companies trying to jump into the ship of distributed ledgers. I'm sure many people heard about the Ethereum, Bitcoin and such. Basically, it's a way to remove the centralized ledger, which offers transactions. Rather, you have each participant talk to each other about those transactions. So the motivation. So basically, a lot of different data legislature, like the GDPR, Data Protection Act, California Consumer Privacy Act, and more, needing to regulate the data access. So if you have a sensor capturing temperature, or maybe some more privileged information such as, I don't know, heart rate, if you have a smart heart rate sensor, you will need to be mindful about those restrictions. The MQTT itself doesn't provide any option to authenticate or account for the people connecting to it. And there's also no option really in the vanilla MQTT to profit from this information. So this project will be able to use the blockchain to charge fee for using the broker. And finally, by putting in the blockchain, you also are removing the dependency of the central authority who monitors this data. Rather, put in the publicly available blockchain so everybody can read this information and verify whether everything was according to the law or no leaks happened. So the fly trap was the name of the system I constructed. It's basically named after, flies being trapped before they are able to reach the sensitive resource. So it consists of 4 layers. First layer is the MQTT client, as before. To the consumers and IoT devices is exactly the same as it was before. They send the same kind of messages, with the difference being that they have to send an extra signature and have to use a sophisticated client as well. Then the proxy, so the flight trap will send the messages based on the signature provided to the actual broker and relay the information back to the particular client. And blockchain CLI, so the flight trap itself will try to verify with the Ethereum node whether they can access given resource. And finally, web application from which the third parties, such as the government authorities or auditors, can read the data from the blockchain. And of course, the web interface is not required. It's just a simple way to access the information on the blockchain, since, as I said, the blockchain is public, so everybody practically can read it. They can write their own application to consume this information. It's like public database. So of course, as I said, I wasn't prepared, so I don't really have a demo to present, but I hope the brief idea has been passed more or less. So I was going just to show how the whole system operates. It's basically composed of 4 different modules, as I mentioned. So first I will need to turn on the actual flight trap proxy, have the 2 clients, each connecting, either publishing, subscribing, and I was able to show what's going on. Sadly, I don't have this on this particular laptop, so I will need to skip this. So for the evaluation, just to see how badly it performs against the state-of-the-art, which is just vanilla with no other proxies, just connect straight away. So there's roughly 20% response time increase. With some optimizations, you are able to drop it even more. So the orange bit, the yellow-orange bit on the chart represents optimized caching, where you don't have to query the blockchain continuously for this information. Scales very well, so the data, the response times do not increase as you have more concurrent client connecting to the flight trap. And the setup cost is relatively low, so you pay roughly $2.03 for initial setup, And like whenever you want to add an extra person, you charge roughly 0.05, like 5 cents. And that's, of course, it varies because it's based on the cost of Ethereum back in when I was writing this presentation, it was a month ago. So those numbers might be different, but roughly that's how much, and of course that's the base value, so that's how much you have to pay to use the blockchain at all. So you can imagine this as a charge for AWS or GCP offering you the same database structure. And of course on top of that, as I mentioned, there's option for profitability, so you can add your own charges on top of that and make the clients send you money for accessing the same information. This is not really relevant. For the future, you can of course move it away from the transport layer into, or like TCP packets into WebSockets, which are very, very popular nowadays. Establish device authenticity. So right now it's all based on the bidirectional signatures. There are some ways to also, without that, determine if the IoT device is actually IoT, not just attacker's laptop. How to improve further the performance of the TLS. And of course, since right now you pay the same fee for the access, you don't pay repeatedly for every subsequent connection. It might be a good idea to have a higher access frequencies. And yeah, if you have any questions, I have just 1 minute, but I'll take anything I can. So yeah.
Thank you, Konrad. Are there any questions? There are none coming through on YouTube at the moment, but if there are any questions from your fellow peers, please ask away.
Okay, you can. I'll hang around the chat, so if anyone wants to, they can ping me. But sadly, I have to jump to another meeting right now. So thank you, everyone, and good luck to the winners. And there was some good presentations, so I'll be looking on the other screen just to see who won. So thank you again.
Great, thank you so much, Konrad. We'll just hold on another couple of minutes just while we're waiting for the judges to finish up deliberating, and then they'll jump back on and share the verdict with us. So please do stick around for a couple more minutes.
Brilliant. So yeah, we've it was kind of hard to stop doing that, to stop chatting about them. I think we wanted even longer because it was really good and surprisingly really good. Not obvious to pick a winner, and the quality of some of those video productions was amazing. So I think if we go through each of the teams first, and we'll go through a couple of comments on each of them, and then we'll announce the winner. So if we go with Team Alpha, which was Ask Anything, the private feedback website. Judges, what are the comments we have on that?
Very slick presentation. Just felt that the video needed to come first because it positioned it and explained it. So that's just a small point, but overall a good strong idea. It'll be quite difficult to take to market because there's some existing players there, but a very slick presentation, very passionate. And there's obviously sales ability there, which is what you need behind any application. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, we also thought it was very well presented, and the questions were responded to extremely well. So, so you really did yourself proud this afternoon.
Brilliant. And if we go into Team Charlie, that was the portfolio backcasting tool.
Backtesting tool.
Yeah, backtesting tool.
That's what you said the last time. Very sorry. That's what we've got in our notes. So, so the backtesting tool.
It's an easy mistake to make.
The judges were really impressed that you had chosen a complex topic to cover with your presentation. So you guys did a really good job, and it was a lot of really positive feedback from the judges around the concept and the usability of what you delivered as well.
I think the fact you actually had a bit of a use case, you had you had Alison, you introduced a potential sort of working solution through that was also good. It helped bring across the message, and for people that are not more familiar with this kind of technology, gave them a real understanding of how they would use it personally. That was good.
Thank you very much.
Well, and Team Delta, fridge plan reducing food waste.
I think all the judges were impressed with the concept and the potential market identification. So you should be really proud of yourselves for the presentation that you delivered on that.
Thank you.
I think we're all agreed it was a noble cause. We weren't sure how it would make money, but we could think of some streams that could actually create and some ways to make it easier to use. That was the only sort of considerations, but the fact that we were engaged in talking about it means we think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Fit in quite nicely with some of the, MyFitnessPal, people are using all those kind of apps, so we could see that there could be a market of people who would be interested in using this type of thing.
And last but not least, Team Echo with urban tourism.
We really liked the idea of this. We thought it was great. We thought there was lots of potential. We could see how people could use it as locals or tourists, giving a pre-configured route length. We thought that a source of revenue for it might be through cafes or shops advertising within the route. And I don't know if you'd considered that.
And they did put a lot of work into getting a lot of content in a small video in the 10 minutes, and obviously they had lots of things they wanted to say. So that was the teams that we were chatting about, and it wasn't unanimous, but there was a majority, and I'm pleased to say that the majority was for Team Alpha. So Team Alpha won the Inform Prize this year. That will hopefully be with you soon. So we had a few of those members were on as well. So Alec and Lucas, congratulations. And maybe one point soon we'll be able to say hi, and I'll shake your hand and say well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of this that you said for the event, and we're very happy as a team to win the prize. Great.
Well done.
I think we've all really enjoyed it. So thanks very much for providing your videos. I know it can be really quite unnerving. If it makes you feel any better, it was unnerving for us too, especially at the start. But this has been really great, and certainly something we'll try to keep up in future in terms of keeping this in an online form so that we can get the reach of it wider for people to be able to see what's being done in Aberdeen. I'm going to have a look back to see what the fourth year projects were, because of course I was off with the judges, and I suggest the judges have a look back later as well, so you can do that. They're usually quite interesting too, in individual projects rather than team ones. But thanks to Aberdeen University for working with us. Charlotte, thank you very much for helping us with the organisation. Tracy, thanks so much for putting this together and spending ages putting that video together for everyone, and testing and testing and testing, but you can never test enough. So thanks very much, everyone. I think with that, it's a wrap. Take care and have a good evening.
Thanks, Steve.
Well done,
Thank
Team
you.
Alpha.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve, for pulling this all together as well and providing the prize. We really appreciate the work Intelligent Plant puts in for this. It's great, and really nice to see that it still happened this year, despite the coronavirus things and upsets, but we got there in the end. It's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. It might have made it better though in the end, because I mean, last year was the first one that was open where anyone could come along, and this year has been the first one that's online. So I don't know what the next step will be next year.
How many are on YouTube? Okay.
I think it was about 30 or so earlier,
Okay.
because I took a sneaky peek on my phone.
Great.
Yeah, there's been about 25 to 30 constantly through the whole feed, so that's great to see.
Okay. Perfect.
Well, thanks again, everyone. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks you all you students. It's been great.